Good evening, everyone. We continue at 5 with breaking news and an ice storm warning in the Willamette Valley. The freezing rain started in the Salem area this afternoon and has been relentlessly making its way north. We cannot say this enough tonight. Ice makes driving treacherous. Public transit is cutting back and speeds are slowing on most of our highways, with I-84 now completely shut down from Troutdale through the gorge to Hood River. Well, thanks for joining us tonight. I'm David Molko.
And I'm Brittany Folkers. We're following all of the impacts of this storm. Portland Public Schools and Beaverton Schools have called off class for tomorrow. And those districts certainly are not alone in delaying or canceling school Wednesday. We have that list. You can see it right now running at the bottom of your screen in red. That'll keep you informed on any of those updates. And you know what? Airlines are starting to cancel or delay flights at PDX tonight, too. So it's all due to this winter storm. You can check flypdx.com for the latest updates.
I have a feeling all those lists are going to be getting longer tonight. Tragically, this evening, we have learned that Saturday's storm and the bitter cold have claimed at least 3 more lives. Today, Multnomah County announced 2 more suspected hypothermia deaths. In Tigard, a 3rd person was found dead in their home. Again, a suspected hypothermia case. This brings the total to at least 7 deaths in the last few days related to this severe weather.
We do have full team coverage tonight of this ice storm, and we begin with Chief Meteorologist Matt Zaffino and the latest on the freezing rain now hitting the area.
Yeah, I was just checking out the window there, and I think we have a little bit of sleet mixing in too. At this point, it really won't matter that much. Freezing rain will be the predominant precipitation type that we get. It all adds up to ice. It all adds up to really slick roads, sidewalks, stairways, railings, everything outside is going to be coated in ice, including power lines, unfortunately. So hopefully you have power and hopefully you don't lose power. But if you do, hopefully everybody's ready for that, because that is a real possibility going forward as the power lines themselves get iced up. Tree limbs can snap off and break, and there's still some wind out there. There's going to be more wind tomorrow, too, even as things warm up. 26 degrees, east winds at the airport are down to 14 miles an hour, so that wind has backed off a lot. So I'm showing you a picture from the Dalles, not just because it's snowy and not just because it's 13 degrees, well, kind of because it's 13 degrees. The point here is that that is the source of our cold air. And it's still an east wind, so it's drawing from this cold air pool out in the Dalles and points east. The entire Columbia Basin still in the grips of that deep Arctic air mass. That's what's funneling through the gorge and keeping us in the deep freeze. So as long as that's the case, we're going to be having freezing rain, because that Arctic air is no longer deep enough to support snow or sleet like it did on Saturday. It's just going to fall through the warm air above this cold air, and then it's going to refreeze when it reaches the ground. So here's this initial band. You can see it's got a bit of a back edge. Precipitation is backing off down around Eugene right now, but there'll be more that fills in after that. So again, our total ice accumulations, I think for Portland, 1/4 inch will be fairly widespread. Some places will see more than that, especially as you head out towards the gorge. Some places will see less than that, especially as you head to the south and west. Newburgh, you might get away with less than 1/10 of an inch of ice. It'll still be slippery, but that's a whole lot better than 1/4 inch of ice or more. So that's how this is going to go. It won't be a uniform amount of ice everywhere, just as the temperatures don't warm up everywhere at the same time. In fact, it'll be in the 40s by tomorrow morning in Salem, but we're still hovering around freezing, if not a little bit lower in the Portland area. So again, our ice storm warning till 4 a.m. in the metro. It expires later tonight, actually, down for the mid-valley. So we'll be keeping close tabs on that as this storm continues to send surges of moisture into the northwest. Guys?
Yeah, 1/4 inch of ice, nothing to mess with. Thanks so much, Matt. We'll see you in a few minutes here. As we mentioned at the top of the hour now, I-84 in the gorge closed tonight.
Yeah, so let's get right to Evan Watson, who is live in Troutdale for us. Evan, how are things looking right now?
Well, guys, I've decided to put the safety glasses on because right now I'm looking east, and that's the direction these little ice pellets are coming down. I grabbed a couple of them. I'm going to try to toss them up here so you can kind of see what we're dealing with. I don't know if the camera caught that at all, but really the sweeping ice coming across these pellets the size of maybe a small ball of some sort. And if you see the white clouds over my shoulder across the road here, those are the ice little pellets ripping through this area. Listen, I've never had acupuncture, but I can't imagine it's too dissimilar from this. It feels biting when you look at it. So let's flip around and give you some of the details here as well. So I-84 here in the gorge is closed from Troutdale to Hood River. Similarly, on the other side, on the Washington side, State Route 14 is closed for similar types of out over to the Hood River Bridge as well. especially for vehicles over a certain amount of weight. So we're seeing not many people that are stuck here or waiting. Still some traffic getting rerouted either right or left here at this Troutdale exit. Most people seem to have gotten the news that, hey, ice is not something you want to mess with on the roads, as we say over and over again. And just being out here in these conditions, also not something you want to mess with, because you can feel the effect, and especially the winds here in the gorge is really what's going to get you when the ice comes down at that angle, and then you can feel it on your skin. If there is any exposed skin, not something you want to deal with. So stay inside, stay safe. That's what we're seeing here in Troutdale right now. Conditions have lightened a little bit from when they started about 30 minutes ago, but a gust comes through, those ice pellets come through, it'll wake you right up. I can promise you that. So that's what we're seeing. Evan Watson reporting live in Troutdale.
Well, we appreciate you sticking it out there with the new eyewear. Stay safe to you and the crew out there. Thanks, Evan. Let's bring in meteorologist Joe Ranieri live tonight. He's a bit south in the Salem area now.
Yeah, so Joe, freezing rain started falling there before the Portland area. What are you seeing on the roads now?
Yeah, it's still pretty slick out here. Let's just, describe it as it is. This is miserable out here. The one thing we don't have is that east wind, so it makes it a little bit more bearable in this section of the valley, but it's still very slick out here. I'll kind of take my time and walk a little bit slower. We're along Marion Street here in Salem. You can kind of see just a little bit of freezing rain. You can kind of see that glaze along this section, although this is that section of street where it kind of takes you out of Salem, going along Highway 22 out there, and another lane takes you out to the coast. Kind of gives you an idea of where we're at. But again, my photographer Nick is walking very gingerly out here because it's very slick. Again, this is an area that a couple days ago dealt with heavy snowfall, and then top of that was some freezing rain, and that's what we've been seeing here over 2.5, almost 3 hours this afternoon in this side of the valley, and it's going to continue to be very cold, and the freezing rain is going to continue, so making travel pretty treacherous at times. You can kind of see this section of Marion Street. People haven't been having a hard time travel at all, but you can kind of see the glaze out here, and I'll walk again as slow and careful as I can. I don't have any tractions on my shoes, but this is the car that we came down here. Traveling down from Portland area, it was easy. It was smooth sailing traveling down here, and then we're hearing reports of all that slick freezing rain that's creating along I-5. It's going to be pretty bad out here. I'll just kind of walk along the other side here and kind of show you just how much ice has developed since we last spoke to you about 4 o'clock. I'm not sure how much, but you can kind of see this is the back of our Subaru, already getting some icicles on the windshield wipers in the back of the car. So again, like we've been preaching to you all afternoon, ice is a little different than snow. I would take standing in snow over ice any day of the week, and you can kind of see, I can't remember a time. I've covered a lot of ice storms. I can't remember a time where the ice was actually accumulating on my jacket. It's on my photographer's jacket and our camera too. I'll show you my mic if I can, depending on the lighting. I'm not sure how well it is. That's all ice that's been accumulating on my KGW mic flag. So you can get an idea of just how cold and nasty it is. So if you're lucky enough, just stay inside by the fire, watch KGW as we tell you not to come out here, because things aren't going to be improving anytime soon. Again, Matt was saying maybe by late morning, early part of the afternoon, in a few sections of the metro area, the temperatures will finally warm. It will transition to rain. But in between now and then, it is going to be absolutely cold. And again, if you don't have any experience driving on ice, please don't hit the roads tonight. Just kind of stay inside and kind of wait it out as long as you can. But again, we've been seeing freezing rain here the last couple of hours, and it's been basically nonstop since about 2:30, 3 o'clock or so, and that's been kind of the case up in the metro area as well. Reporting live in Salem tonight, Joe Ranieri, KGW News.
All right, Joe, thank you. Yeah, you said it right. Miserable. And, he illustrated it so well there, walking around in this. It's not just the roads, but even going out there on foot, very dangerous.
And you saw the window there, the rear window frozen solid, so you can imagine that over all the surfaces on the ground at the same time, right?
That glazed ice look is going to be the look that's in, at least for the next few hours. Well, let's get a check on what's happening on freeways through Portland right now.
Yeah, Daisy Caballero live on the east side of the Willamette. So, Daisy, are drivers heeding those warnings to stay off the roads tonight?
Well, David and Brittany, unfortunately, no, people have not quite gotten the message to please stay home, as of course the freezing rain has officially started to pile up on our roadways. Earlier, we started to see a little bit more of that shiny feel there, which of course is that freezing rain. But again, all transportation departments have the same message tonight. Please stay home and off the roads.
Anytime ice is in the forecast, we spring into action.
Tyler Graff with TriMet says crews have been working tirelessly to keep buses and trains moving ahead of Tuesday's ice storm. He says all buses will be chained up by 2 p.m., while other crews work to keep ice from forming along open max line paths.
But with a big storm like this coming through, the focus is really on the overhead wires. The trackway itself, switches can freeze, and then you can't move trains from one track to another.
TriMet restored the 33-mile stretch of the Max Blue Line Tuesday, which allowed people to travel between Hillsborough and Gresham.
When the train comes, we should all clear on the same side.
Randy Palmer with TriMet and his crews have been working all day long, clearing the railings near the Goose Hollow station by melting or shoveling out the snow and ice.
We keep the trains moving. They just started moving today, as far as I know. I know a few places they're stuck, and we've been doing just the same thing at other locations just to get the trains back to the train yard.
PBOT crews have been working 24/7 since Friday, plowing, salting, and de-icing roads, especially for emergency service roadways. They're also salting sidewalks and corner ramps in parts of the central city, and they're still urging everyone to stay home regardless of their experience with snow and ice.
It will defeat anyone, whether you have four-wheel drive or snow chains or other devices.
Now, since this morning, PBOT says that they have reopened right about half of a dozen roads, while 37 still remain closed, of course, because of those icy conditions, down power lines and or trees. But once again, please listen to all of those transportation departments. Stay home and allow them to do their job out here on the road. Back to you guys.
Yeah, Daisy, I hope the next time we see you, there's fewer cars behind you in that live shot.
Yeah, we can hope tonight. Let's talk about power outages. I'm just going to run through a few updates here. PGE, 25,000 customers without power. That's actually down from earlier today, so that's good news. Pacific Power up more than 7,000 without power. Clark County now sitting at 0. They've got everybody back online, but we think that could probably change in the next 12 hours here, right, Brittany?
Yeah, there's definitely continuing changes. That's why you got to stay tuned here. Also online, too. If that power does go out, a great way to stay connected is online as well.
All right, let's bring in Thomas Schultz now with more on power outages. He is in the West Hills tonight.
Yeah, Thomas, tens of thousands of people have been without power since Saturday. So how's it looking right now as round 2 moves in?
Well, Brittany and David, it's still pretty dark out here. Most people don't have power. And of course, you can see behind me, trees like this one are down across the West Hill neighborhood, leaving many people without power around here for the 4th straight day. We spoke to a couple of West Hills residents who say they just simply feel stuck. One family hasn't had Wi-Fi or power since Saturday morning. Others say their homes have crept down into the 40s. While they're bracing for the cold, they continue to wait to hear from PGE. People all around Portland told us they've rarely heard from the power company over the past few days, and they're unsure when their power may come back on. Now, PGE says they're working as quickly as they can. They have 1,600 people working around the clock to restore power, and they've brought in crews from out of state to help out too. They'll be in Portland until power is restored around the metro area, those out-of-state crews. Still, the power company has faced some challenges. First, the sheer amount of homes around Portland without electricity has been difficult to handle. Down power lines, icy roads, and trees blocking roadways has also been a contributor to those slow repairs. And while West Hill residents we spoke with understand the difficulties, guys, they're nearing a 5th day without electricity here, and they're fed up without much hope that power will return soon.
And again, with another storm coming in, or this ice storm coming in within the next couple of hours, we're expecting that we're going to have more trees down and more problems.
And now you guys can see, the wind's picking up out here. We're getting that freezing rain, but look at the roads too. You can see this ice right here, and that's really slick. My shoes even moving a bit just on the slickness, but it's not just that ice. Even these roadways right here, it looks black. That's ice. We've seen a couple of cars try to come down this stop sign. They haven't been able to stop. They've just had to make quick turns. And now, of course, with that freezing rain coming in, a question many are asking is, well, are there going to be future power outages? Unfortunately, PGE says you might want to make preparations for that being the case, guys.
All right, Thomas, thank you. I mean, it is so true. It's hard to see. It's hard to detect. Ice is just kind of a different beast.
It is. And you know what? You have to remind yourselves, too, that some folks have been enduring without power, without electricity, without heat, all of the above for almost 3.5, 4 days now, right?
It's more than frustrating. It's dangerous, yeah. Well, in East Multnomah County and into the gorge, conditions right now are set to go from bad to worse.
That's bringing Kylie Boshi live in Wood Village tonight. Kyle, you've been talking to people who are still in the dark and also dealing with frozen pipes, and now this, an ice storm.
Yeah, folks out here in East County, they're used to that strong east wind and frigid conditions, but this storm, they say, is different, is much different. Conditions have really been relentless, and with so many people without power, they're struggling to stay warm. In the small town of Corbett, they're bracing for round 2 of a fierce winter storm.
Ice is the worst thing out here. You know, it's snow. It's not that big a deal, but ice is the worst thing, because once it's here, it's here.
This small community near the Columbia River Gorge struggled without power and water throughout the weekend. Many residents set up generators, but inside it's so cold, a bucket of water started to freeze. At Crown Point RV Park, almost everybody left after several days with no electricity.
I would say 90% of them have gone and gotten rooms or gone and stayed with families. Everybody hunkered down as long as they could. But once the generators weren't cooperating, the regulators were freezing or getting bubbles in the line, that was the end of it.
The Corbett Country Market is getting by with a backup generator. A string of extension cords lines the floor.
It's enough to power the registers and enough to power credit card machines.
So getting by.
We're getting by.
Crews are working to fix the power problem, and water service has been restored after a car crash and frozen equipment took it offline.
Having a shower would be nice. It's been like 3 days, and I'm ready for a shower.
This rugged community is used to winter storms, but longtime locals admit this was one of the worst after days of brutal cold and wind. Again, water service has been restored in Corbett, but there is a boil water notice for residents. The challenge is a lot of people don't have power, so they can't boil the water. In addition to that, a lot of them have frozen pipes.
Hey, Kyla Boshi there reporting on the east side in East County there. Before we get to Catherine Cook here, I got a couple quick updates I want to get in from ODOT here. These are from further south, so near Coburg, icy conditions causing vehicles to lose traction on I-5, closing some exits there. And then a little bit south of there, milepost 184, downed power lines over northbound and southbound I-5. Again, this is just south of Eugene there. And of course, they got the ice first.
Yes. So it's been making its way towards the northern area. Let's check in on the other side of the Columbia River in Vancouver now. That's where Catherine Cook joins us. So, Catherine, how are things looking now?
Brittany and David, they are about the same. Less rain, more freezing rain now. And speaking of closures, I want to update you on one from WashDOT. The ramp to I-205 on 134th is also now closed. So we're starting to see the impact of this freezing rain, these slick conditions. Behind us, you can see a gorgeous shot of the Columbia River, but I want to draw your attention up to the I-5 bridge there. You can see a little better now with the evening traffic, what we have of it tonight at least. It's very slow going, but we've been watching it closely for folks spinning out or, having a difficult time on the bridge. That's usually one of the tough spots when weather like this kicks in. But again, it's just really slow going especially for this time at night. We're usually seeing it bumper to bumper here, but there really is no rush hour. Everyone is heeding advice to stay home. So, and again, this whole waterfront area is pretty light. We've seen folks out here with their dogs, taking them on walks. One brave soul was out here jogging. But really, for the most part, this area is quite quiet. Folks up here in Clark County know that when this kind of weather hits, it's not good. Freezing rain all over this region is just not good. I got to tell you on a personal note, freezing rain, absolutely horrible. Hate covering it. It's the worst flavor of weather coverage. Snow we can deal with. Freezing rain, no, hate it. I mean, let's just be frank, right? But truly, I also want to give you some advice, guys. If you're at home, I'm going to say something that no other reporter has shared with any viewer tonight, and that is, if you don't need to drive, stay home, stay off the roads. I'm breaking news here, but that's what we do at KGW. And I hope that if anybody listens, they listen to me and they stay home. I think we're all doing that. I hope so. Having a little fun here, but serious. you don't want to hit these roads.
Yeah.
Back to you.